We got to go with the Super Bowl, man. I mean, that was just a freaking blowout, Lee.
The question was, would Kansas City three-peat? The answer was, hell no, period, exclamation point. What an unbelievable Eagle-dominating performance. Philadelphia figured them out. Philadelphia choked them off. Philadelphia attacked them downfield. It's just amazing things that happened during the course of that game. I kept saying this would be the hardest Sunday of Patrick Mahomes' life, and it turned out to be that way. He had no hope, and he had no help during the course of that game. The defensive line overwhelmed Kansas City's weakest points, their left tackle and right tackle, and they did it strictly with a four-man rush. There was nothing Kansas City could do to stop everything those guys wearing green jerseys did up front. The mean green defense was phenomenal. 6 sacks of Mahomes, 9 hits on Mahomes, 15 pressures of Mahomes, 2 picks, and a fumble. The Philadelphia doubled Travis Kelce all day. Mahomes, A, couldn't find him open. B, had no time to find hardly anybody. At one stretch in the second quarter of the game, John, Philadelphia had run off 50 snaps to 30 of Kansas City. At one point in the second quarter, total offense was 177 to 20.
Whoa.
At one point in the second quarter, Kansas City had 1 first down. At one point in the second quarter, they were trailing 34-0. Imagine that. Any team with Andy Reid as head coach, any team as Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback being down 34-0. And Reid had absolutely no answers whatsoever for everything that Philadelphia was doing on offense. And the camera shots of Steve Spagnuolo, he had a glazed look on his eyes.
He did.
He could not believe what he was seeing, what his defense, which had been so good, so dominant, was experiencing all over. Now, I'll say this. They committed to stop Saquon Barkley. They loaded the box. They stopped Saquon Barkley. They held him to 61 yards. He never broke a big play. But they did that trusting that McDuffie in the secondary was going to be able to make some plays, and other guys in the secondary would be able to hold up the single coverage, and it didn't happen. Because what happened then, with all the commitments to stopping Saquon Barkley, Kansas City secondary got beat multiple times on deep pass patterns. Jalen Hurts threw for 220 and ran for 72 more. I mean, he had a phenomenally balanced game. And there was the chief crisis. This is what they will spend the offseason on. They've got to find legitimacy at left tackle and at right tackle because those guys just got killed. And this has been coming all season long. You know, injuries hurt Kansas City during the year, but yet Mahomes got them off the hook by making big plays. But because they got to the Super Bowl and they could not contain the four-man rush, Mahomes had nowhere to go, nobody to throw to. So the Chiefs are going to have to spend, and I bet they'll be active. They'll either do it through the draft or they'll find rental free agents. Chiefs crisis, they got to solve the left tackle, right tackle situation. I think the one unique thing that really amazed me was there are flaws in what Andy Reid's doing, and Philadelphia exposed him. With the pressure and the heat that they put on the quarterback, we suddenly realized Andy Reid doesn't have enough blockers. He could not bring tight ends in, H-backs in to block to help the tackles because those guys are pass catchers. Those guys are not big physical studs. They're going to stand in there and help that left tackle, right tackle double team. So all of a sudden, there's some flaws in Andy Reid's roster nobody was able to expose, but Philadelphia did. And chunk plays. I mean, there was just chunk plays all over the place, virtually all of them done by Philadelphia. They had 11 plays of plus 10 yards in the first 3 quarters when they were blowing them out. They had 4 big plays of plus 20 during the course of the game. That was the Eagles who were doing that to Kansas City's once vaunted defense. Kansas City had virtually nothing like that. They had 1 play of plus 10 in the entire first half. And, of course, they wound up being 34-0 at halftime. I was so impressed with everything Vic Fangio dialed up. So impressed, obviously, with what Philadelphia was able to do to the Kansas City defense to beat them. I was also impressed with Mahomes. Late in the fourth quarter, as this thing was virtually about to end, he walked down that bench. He knelt in front of every one of his linemen and talked to them. Positive leader. And his post-game press conference was positive about, we will now spend this offseason digesting this, and we'll come back and we'll be better next season. Now, other aspects to the game, Lamar's halftime concert, I expected more. I thought it would be dynamic, but I expected more. I did not expect him to go off on a tangent and insult the other great performer, Drake, the way he did. That was to settle a score. He settled a score on national TV. I bet the NFL is not real happy with that one. Commercials. God, there are a lot of commercials. God, there are a lot of bad commercials. I didn't see a heck of a lot there that grabbed me and said, oh, this is cool. This is creative juice. You know, there were a couple. The commercial, the Dunkin' Donuts thing with Belichick was kind of weird. It caught my attention. Matthew McConaughey had a really strange commercial in which he was dressed up as different people, including Davers, Mike Ditka. I thought that was okay. I thought Tom Brady was poor. I was really disappointed. And he was so apologetic about Kansas City. And he was throwing all this false hope out there. Well, now it's a 4-score game and they can come back. Well, now it's a 5-score game. Come on, Tom. Be a bit more critical here. What I now, in retrospect, because, there's been a lot of conversation this past week about Greg Olsen getting bumped and not getting a chance to do the Super Bowl, and everybody really likes him as a color analyst on Fox because they pushed him down the ladder and put Brady into the number one team. What they should have done was they should have given Greg Olsen his own window to do his own analysis. Maybe they didn't want to have 3 in the booth. Maybe 3 in the booth would have meant Brady here and Olsen next to him and they'd bat heads. Maybe they just had Greg Olsen do a little segment at the end of each quarter with his opinion, the end at halftime, end of the third, end of the fourth. Olsen could have added some more zip and pizzazz to that broadcast booth because I thought I didn't think Brady had a Super Bowl performance. I think Brady had a Patrick Mahomes performance on TV. I was really disappointed in that. All right, so John, I threw a lot at you there. Go ahead. Tell me what you think about the Mean Green. Tell me what you thought about looking into the eyes of Andy Reid and Spagnuolo. And did you understand anything about that halftime performance? And you want to talk about Brady versus Olsen? Go ahead. The floor belongs to you.
The floor belongs to me. First of all, I love hearing you doing critical analysis of the play-by-play and the color commentator because only you could do that appropriately. I saw criticism of Tom Brady online. People saying he referred to Mahomes as Patrick, but yet he referred to Jalen Hurts as Hurts. So he had an affinity towards Mahomes through this whole thing. So I don't know. Greg Olsen got screwed in this whole thing, and Tom Brady is the pretty boy. I did like the commercial though with Brady and Snoop, where they're going head to head talking about hate and how it was just, that was a good one. The halftime show was I think for most people that are not familiar with Kendrick Lamar, that they didn't understand what he was saying. They didn't get it. It was a mystery to them. But when I watched a lot of the post-game analysis of the halftime show, there was a lot going on in there. There was commentary in the lyrics about politics and culture, society, about sports, about history. Serena Williams was in the halftime show doing a particular dance that is very meaningful in the Black community. So that is a halftime performance. You have to kind of go back and watch it a second or a third time to really understand the depth and all the subtle messaging. But as far as the game goes, it was a terrible game. I mean, right from the start, it was lopsided. It was never competitive. I mean, what happened to the mad scientist and all the genius of your guy, Andy Reid?
I think at the end of the day, Philadelphia just came to line of scrimmage and punched him in the mouth. And Kansas City was never able to respond. There were chunks of time in the second period where this game was really out of control, and I was of the opinion, Reid's got to change this. You need to go no huddle, go quicker passes. What you do if you put a drive together where you're running play after play after play, you're going to slow that pass rush down. And he never did it till late in the second half. And by then, that thing was significantly over. I mean, they had Mahomes out of the shotgun, standing there trying to find receivers, trying to move the pocket. Wham!
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so I thought that if this is the tempo that Philadelphia is going to play at, you got to answer the mean green by coming out, going quick drop, slants, outs, crossing patterns, quick, get the ball out of there, get a couple first downs, because then you're keeping their defense on the field. And these guys, they got them 3 and out, and sacks and penalties. And so Andy Reid, I don't know why there was not another option to change the flow of that first half, because next thing you know, it's 34-0 at halftime, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done to change that outcome.
Did you notice how the Chiefs were heavily penalized in this game? And there's always the conspiracy theory how the refs are on their side. And it makes me wonder if they were trying to make a point of it, that, hey, we're not on the Chiefs' side.
Yeah, but there were head hits and junk like that, and there was a lot of and there were face masks. No, but that's who Philadelphia is. Mean green. We're going to punch you in the mouth and see how you respond. Sometimes they got caught along the way. The whole refs conspiracy. Now, but I will grant you that
it's a fun topic to discuss.
Yeah, but the last 2 games Kansas City played, a lot more penalties on the other guy than on Kansas City. Now, prior to that, there was an awful lot of, they're protecting Mahomes and what a bogus call that was, etc. But things, they were different. But Philadelphia deserved the flags because Philadelphia they play South Philadelphia street ball.
Just a couple other random observations. Number one is, did you notice that when Mahomes was in the pocket scrambling, he has a couple of signature curl moves. And every time he made that turn around the bend, there was an Eagle defender.
Yeah.
So they had the whole thing sniffed out. And by the way, there's one dude that was really disappointed with the outcome last night, and that's Pat Riley. Wasn't able to cash in on his 3-peat trademark.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, Philadelphia earned it. Philadelphia slugged their way to the victory. Do you think Greg Olsen, third in the booth in the Super Bowl broadcast, would have been a great counteractive to what Brady was, or just give him his own little segment with his own commentary? Because I think it was said, God, Greg Olsen's message is a hell of a lot more vibrant than what Brady was delivering.
Well, it can't really admit defeat on the whole Brady experiment in the biggest game of the year. And if you had Olsen like in a separate booth, it's like separate but equal. I mean, that wouldn't work. So, but I kind of like the idea of a 3-man booth if they can make it work. And if you have both Olsen and Brady doing commentary, it could be really dynamic.
And they sound really different.
Oh, yeah.
Different spin. So that's all things Philadelphia Eagles, Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl loss. At the end of the day, a lot of people are begging on the Chiefs. Let's appreciate the accomplishment. What they did to get there a third year in a row, what they did, because your team is never the same from year to year. Quarterbacks change, your roster changes, retirements, injuries, free agency. Kansas City's accomplishment, I think, is phenomenal. But now we've gone through, I think, officially a changing of the guard. People looking at Philadelphia and looking at who Detroit is, because Detroit plays the same way. Looking who San Francisco was before they had injuries. They kind of play that way. So maybe the game's going to change a little bit in terms of style based on what some of these guys in the NFC are doing.
It's a copycat league, man. So they're going to be bringing big guys on the lines going forward.
Okay, so if you're an NFL fan, feel free. Jump on board. Pile in. Pile on if you want. I don't want to say I told you so, but I did pick Philadelphia to win. I didn't think they'd put 40 on the board against Kansas City, and I couldn't believe it. At one point, it was 34-0, and Andy Reid had 1 first down and 19 yards in total offense. But let's talk Super Bowl Sunday. Fans Forum chat box is open. Feel free to be part of the conversation right now.